Is the bull market over? Is Bitcoin going back down to 70,000 US dollars? That at least is something that Arthur Hayes, co-founder of BitMEX and someone people are listening to in the crypto space, said in one of his tweets a couple of hours ago. He predicts that Bitcoin will go down to 75,000 US dollars in a mini financial crisis before we restart the money printers and go back up to 250,000 US dollars by the end of the year. Now, I know many people are waking up right now, freaking out, looking at the charts, getting a heart attack and wondering what is happening right now. The same happened to me, by the way, this morning. I had no clue what was happening. I had to check out the situation. So I thought I'd bring you along and we can see what is happening, see why it's happening. Is it justified? What is the sentiment? What are people tweeting about? And see what else is happening, see what the outlook is, and come up with our own theories. In the end, it's all just theories. No one knows what will happen. Just keep that in mind as well. Okay, so the US markets literally just opened like 20 minutes ago while we're speaking. Let's take a quick look on where we stand right now in this moment. So we can see Bitcoin is sitting at around 102,000. Not that bad, but it did dump to 97,000 in the meantime at some point over the last couple of hours. And if we look at the traditional markets, we can see that Nvidia dropped by around 11% compared to Friday, I think, and started off the day at 126. Quite harsh if you ask me, and we have to see how it will develop over the next couple of hours. On the total 2 chart, which is basically everything except Bitcoin, we can see that the market cap is at 1.38 trillion and it went down to 1.33 trillion. And to put that into perspective, it is still not as bad as back in actually December, if I remember. Yeah, it went down to 1.23. So we're still all right. So sometimes good to zoom out and see what is happening, how the markets are doing before we jump in. Okay, so what is happening right now in the markets? Why is everyone dumping? Why is everyone freaking out? So I collected some tweets, but I can take this away. People are freaking out about AI. This has been the biggest topic over the past 2 years, and it will continue to be so over the next years to come. And people are freaking out of a potential AI bubble. And if this is going to burst, and the reason people may think that it's bursting right now in this moment is DeepSeek. This is DeepSeek. This is their website. And what DeepSeek is, it's basically a competitor to OpenAI and ChatGPT. And they just released their newest LLM model, which turns out to be nearly, not as good, but nearly as good as ChatGPT's O1 model. Now we can't see it here on this chart on their website, but it's doing pretty well on different benchmarks. I brought up this benchmark over here, and you can see here on the very right, DeepSeek R1 doing pretty well, pretty greenish. Here you see OpenAI. And I like to always look at the code parts because I'm a coder as well. And you can see here that DeepSeek R1 comes pretty close to the O1 model. Now, many of you are saying, okay, but it's not as good. The whole difference, though, is that O1 costs $200 per month, while R1 is for free. Yes, you heard correctly. DeepSeek R1 is for free to use. I can quickly show it to you here. I downloaded it onto my machine. I use LM Studio for that, and with LM Studio you can then download one of the popular models. You can choose which one you want and load it into the system, and then you can just chat away and ask it all types of questions, just like in ChatGPT. What are crypto market cycles, for example? And it will start thinking, and the cool thing is that you can actually see how it's thinking. So what is the thought process behind it? And you can sometimes see very cool things where it gets like a spark of an idea or something like that. So it's very interesting to follow. I personally not only use it here in LM Studio, but I also use it in Cursor AI, which is a coding tool. Super good for that. That's probably the best LLM model that I'm using so far. Very helpful. Now you can see here the answer. The answer is not so relevant. I just wanted to show you what DeepSeek is. And the whole thing is for free. So you can just download it and use it, which is what worries people, right? And not only is it for free, but like DeepSeek, I think, used $5 million to develop this model, and now people are freaking out thinking maybe we don't need that much money to develop LLM models and use for AI, etc. Like OpenAI is right now with their $500 billion investment announced last week. And so people are de-risking, taking money off the table, wondering if this bubble is going to explode right now. Okay, but just to show you also the price in comparison, if we look at OpenRouter, which is a platform that enables you to use different kind of LLMs through the internet, basically through an API. Now, of course, it's free if you use it on your machine and download it, but if you want to use LLMs for different kinds of tools and applications that you build, you go through something like OpenRouter, for example, and it costs money. So you have to load some money onto this platform. And just to give you an idea how cheap DeepSeek is, right? So you can see here, Claude 3.5 Sonnet from Anthropic costs $3 per million input tokens. Then you can see the O1 model, the flagship of OpenAI, costs $15 per million input tokens, and DeepSeek costs 55 cents per million input tokens. So quite a huge difference, and yeah, now people are thinking that it's a bubble, but let's see what people are saying in the markets. Okay, but now let's do a quick sentiment check. What are other people saying in the internet? And we already talked about this. Nvidia's market opening at $126, like around 11% correction from the Friday. Then we have here Walter Bloomberg, who is also summarizing some opinions across the markets, and we can quickly walk through them as well. So analyst reactions: JP Morgan Sandeep Deshpande suggests the AI investment cycle might be overhyped. DeepSeek's efficiency could lead to a more efficient future. Jeffrey's Edison Lee proposes two strategies post DeepSeek: continue investing in computing power or focus on efficiency, potentially reducing 2026 AI capex. Contrasting views: Bernstein, Stacey Ragson believes the panic is overblown. Citi's Atif Malik acknowledges a challenge to US dominance, but emphasizes the advantage of access to advanced chips, maintaining a buy on Nvidia. Efficiency and costs: Raymond James's Srini Pajuri, I'm probably butchering the name, suggests that if DeepSeek's innovations are adopted, training costs could decrease, questioning the need for large GPU clusters. So that's basically one of the reasons why people are freaking out. Do we need that much money, really? Do we need all those chips? Is Nvidia overhyped? And then lastly, market dynamics. Cantor's CJ Muse sees DeepSeek's developments as bullish for compute demand, suggesting increased rather than decreased need for GPUs, advocating to buy Nvidia on any dips. Then we've got Quinton, who says Chinese AI startup DeepSeek just hit #1 on the Apple Store with only 10 million spent, as I mentioned earlier, just a fraction of the cost. Meanwhile, ChatGPT raised 17 billion and is valued at 150 billion. Now the market is calling AI overhyped, dumping AI stocks and dragging crypto with it. So that's why the whole crypto thing is going down. It's basically affecting all risk markets at this point, right? BTC dumped 200K, retail is panicking, selling in fear, but guess what? Institutions are scooping up Bitcoin at record levels. Miles Deutscher summed it up for us as well. I'm not going to read the whole tweet, but like the main points of his tweet. So in his opinion, there are 3 points: the fears of the tech seller following the launch hype of DeepSeek, then people de-risking because on Wednesday is the FOMC meeting of the Federal Reserve, and then a lack of short-term North Star after Trump's inauguration. Pretty long tweet from Ilo. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he says clearly DeepSeek is a risk-off event because the implications simply aren't understood by the market right now. As we know, uncertainty is equal risk-off. And yet, and then he speaks a lot about like how this is actually bullish for the market, and demand will increase. Then we have something else interesting happening, which was caught by and reported by Marty Party. Basically, exchanges use market makers to manipulate prices. So basically, Binance and Coinbase are using market makers to dump assets to the exchanges to liquidate longs. And we can see it here on an image from this morning. These like lighted areas on the chart are where all the liquidity is, and basically if you break through those barriers, these positions are liquidated. So before we actually rally, it's in the interest of exchanges that we liquidate all the longs that are open so that they don't have to cash out that much to the people. So that's one theory. And like, he spotted them red-handed and saw that Binance and Coinbase were actually dumping on the market, and he repeated to do so as well. Market makers are now receiving stablecoin from the exchanges in preparation of running it back up. So he's basically saying that this was all manipulation going on, but like, it's a mix of many things, I think personally. But there's actually more going on in the background. So China has reported worse economic numbers yesterday night. And so you can see here from Zero Hedge, who says China's January manufacturing PMI was estimated to be 50.1, but was actually 49.1 yesterday. But also people are calling out that in 2 days, on January 29th, is actually Chinese New Year, and that many people are taking holidays in China. But this is something to keep in mind. So the numbers in China are worse as well. And you can see here that Xi Jinping vows to promote China's continued economic recovery. So that's his reaction to that. Lastly, I found this from Rand Neuner, who reported also on the crypto and the market crash as well. And he posted this picture of Black Swan events and is wondering if this is actually one of the Black Swan events. So basically, a Black Swan event is a short-term crisis, a long-term opportunity, right? And this picture shows several of these events of the past: 9/11, COVID, Brexit votes, Gulf War, etc. And is this maybe a Black Swan event that is very unexpected and causing the market to crash? Okay, now that we've skimmed through the internet and seen a bunch of opinions, I think we can build our own picture and put everything together. And I have to say that I think that the whole AI fear is a bit overblown. Yes, of course, it's not cool that DeepSeek was able to build an LLM model that is very competitive for just a fraction of the cost. But for consumers, for companies, for enabling the whole AI industry, that is super cool. So I think there will be a race for more efficiency, but the demand for GPUs is certainly not going to decrease. NVIDIA continues to have the best chips in the world, and people will want to continue to get their hands on these kind of chips, and so I think that is just going to continue. In regards to OpenAI, they're not even on the stock market, so basically technically it shouldn't affect the stock market. But of course, NVIDIA is a proxy to OpenAI. That's why the NVIDIA stock is tanking so much. It's not because of the demand of GPU chips, but basically because of OpenAI, I think, personally. So that's about the whole AI thing. I personally wouldn't worry too much. Of course, we have to pay attention to how the markets are going. Actually, since the start of the markets, NVIDIA is down another 3 points. Let's see how it develops over the next couple of hours. But what about the crypto bull run? Well, personally, I think it's not over yet and we're just getting started. If we zoom out a bit, just remember to last week when Donald Trump said that he wants to make the US the AI and crypto capital of the world. I'm just surprised that we haven't seen the markets break out yet and our super cycle hasn't begun yet. Everyone was expecting it to happen last week after the inauguration. In fact, the night before the inauguration, we saw already the new all-time high of Bitcoin. But other than that, the week was pretty underwhelming, and I think a tweet from Ran sums it up pretty well, where he says, "I can't understand how this market has not gone absolutely parabolic." I absolutely agree. And that basically after Cynthia Loomis was made chair of digital assets or something like that, and an executive order was signed to put together a working group to explore a digital stockpile, where CZ says, okay, a strategic Bitcoin reserve is pretty much confirmed. Did the market move? Not a bit. In fact, it went straight down. And I think I have an assumption here of what is happening. So everyone was pricing in the whole strategic Bitcoin reserve, the inauguration of Trump. So that's why we didn't see much movement. Yes, we saw an all-time high of Bitcoin, but like other than that, we didn't see the cycle really go parabolic from there. And I think many whales and institutions were waiting for some kind of black swan event or some kind of negative news to flush out the markets and liquidate those longs. And with the whole DeepSeek news, I think the whole fear was blown up and used so that they could trigger those liquidations. And from now, hopefully we can rally up. But are we going to go up or are we going to go down from here? Well, again, no one knows. I just have my own theory. And my theory is that we are going to see a pump upwards. Now, I don't know exactly when, but I can tell you why I think that way. So now that the markets were flushed out and all those longs were liquidated, I think we are ready for a pump. And not a small one, but I think we could go multiple levels upwards. Well, that's more of a wish, I guess. But if you think about it, last week was the inauguration. Everyone was super bullish. The price didn't actually move that much. Although the expectation was that we would go parabolic, especially after all those bullish news for crypto and something coming very close to news of a strategic Bitcoin reserve. So price didn't pump. Liquidations are flushed out. On Wednesday is the FOMC meeting, so the Federal Reserve is going to talk about interest rate cuts. And now if we look at the website, we can see that the expectation is that the Federal Reserve will not cut any interest rates, 95.6%. And Trump said last week that he will put in a strong recommendation for the Fed to cut interest rates.
You said that you would demand that the interest rates come down.
Well, I would put in a strong statement.
Do you expect the Fed to listen to you?
Yeah.
Are you going to talk to Powell about this and bringing the rates down?
At the right time.
Technically, he has no say over that, but who knows what really is going on in the background. And now we know China hasn't had the greatest numbers in terms of manufacturing PMI and that the growth of the economy is actually lower than expected. And we know that Xi Jinping vows to promote China's continued economic recovery. So I could imagine that China has some form of bullish news coming over the next couple of days to boost the economy further, maybe switch on the money printing machine even more. Then we know China's New Year is actually coming up in 2 days. And we know from the past that China likes spending their money on risk assets during that time period. So now imagine China is trying to boost their economy even further, maybe by lowering interest rates even more. The US doesn't want to fall behind, especially now after the big DeepSeek news, and wants to boost their economies even further and put more money into the markets. Combined with the fact that Trump actually said that he's going to put in a strong recommendation to reduce interest rates, I could see the money printer for the US coming back on very strongly. Now, if we look again on the anticipation of Wednesday's meeting, I mean, I don't know, like Wednesday is very early to me, but just imagine 95% expect that the interest rates are not going to get cut. And we know from the last couple of weeks that people and institutions and companies took all money off the table because they didn't anticipate more rate cuts at all, at least for this meeting. What if Donald Trump is pulling somehow the strings behind the scene and, however, convinces the Fed or forces them to reduce interest rates? Imagine this does happen on Wednesday and the interest rates do get cut. No one's expecting it. The money printer will come back on and markets will skyrocket at that point. A very nice thought, if you ask me. But all just a theory, not financial advice, of course. We don't know what's happening, but I think we don't have to worry. This is a short-term crisis. The market is trying to understand how to react to this DeepSeek news. But come on, we're not talking here about war. We're not talking about a virus killing the planet and whatsoever. We're talking about an AI competitor from China. So let's see. I think it's not as bad as people might feel this morning. I think if you do still have some liquidity, evaluate the markets, see if this might be a good opportunity. But never forget the famous statement, buy when people are fearful and sell when people are greedy. What do you think? Is Bitcoin going much lower? Do you think my theory is super crazy? Let us know in the comments down below. For today, that's it, folks. If you liked this video, make sure to hit that like button and the subscribe button and the notification bell. It would really mean a lot to us. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.